Hi, thank you. And yeah, actually, I'm put in this room to give this talk like last minute. So maybe I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Cheuk. I work for JetBrains. So if you have any complaint about PyCharm, please come to me. So, but today we are talking about something that's not about IDE. We're talking about AI and security. So yeah, I think this is a very, very hot topic, especially recently. I'm going to talk about something that's super, super new, which is just happening like 3 days ago. So, as you know, this is really, really a new talk. So, let's jump into it. So, how many of you use AI to do coding? Keep your hands if you think AI is coding better than you. Okay, some of you. Right, so AI is quite good at coding. So I also have to admit, sometimes I think that like AI is doing quite a good job. Sometimes better than me, I have to admit. Um, but why is it so, right? I know AI is something very new and everybody is talking about it, not just developers, but AI is actually is specifically good at coding compared to a lot of different tasks that AI was given to do. But why? First of all, we code, right? So we all know that code have a very rigid syntax. If you compare it to natural language, like I'm learning Japanese and Spanish. Sometimes I was like, oh, I need to add the S everywhere in Spanish and change the form of the verb. It's so difficult. Yeah, but for learning code, I mean, syntax is quite straightforward. And probably if you have a good IDE like I do, then it will highlight it for you. So yeah, easy peasy. So because code itself has so rigid pattern, it's actually very easy to train. So LLM will be very, very good at it. Um, Also, you may have heard that like, oh, we in the future we'll have AGI, which is like AI that can do anything. But actually, we are not talking about that right now. Like right now, we have AI that are good at specific tasks. So if you want to train a model that are good at everything, is quite difficult. You need a lot of resources to do that. But if it's something specific, it's actually quite easy to do it. And we have already, spent a lot of resources and train on code and, code, usually coding tasks very specific, you have a really well-defined end goal, what you want to achieve, and you can also run tests on it as well. So very good. Um, Another thing you may not have think about, right? Because um, at the end of the day, all these AI company who release all these amazing model, it's a business model. So they may want to specifically train their model to be good at coding so they can sell it to companies, right? Like you have heard the very scary thing happening in America right now. A lot of developers have been made redundant because companies think that AI can replace some developers. So yeah, for business reason, there's a huge incentive to make AI good at coding, and developers are expensive. So and another thing that it's not a surprise, right? Like we have so many like code written available everywhere in the internet because open source becomes super popular in the recent years, and people like publishing their code on GitHub, GitLab, or these uh, websites. So yeah, and even like write blog posts, right? You was like, oh, I have a code example and things like all of those things can be used to train a model that can be good at coding. So well, provided that on average most of the code are good, right? Maybe it's like but I think most people who are like the open source software that we're using, like the code at least is good because we're using them, right? So yeah. Okay. This is a very general kind of saying by the industry that AI driven reverse engineering can actually be 3 times faster than doing it by an expert. So I was talking with another speaker. Maybe you have already attend his talk earlier today. He's talking about how he can, use AI to reverse engineer and have an amazing backpack that have like the logo there and stuff. So, yeah, I am not a low level. Like I don't understand C and all these. Like I can't do reverse engineering like a lot of smart people do. But maybe I'm thinking, oh, I should try it out because with AI, maybe I can do reverse engineering as well. Um, yeah. So what happened next, right? Um, One of the fun thing I can do if I can reverse engineering is maybe I can reverse engineer the game that I like, so I can mod it and make it super funny, make a horror game like, someone replaced the horrible like spider boss into a Thomas Tank Engine, and it becomes super funny, like it's not scary anymore. So that's the fun bit. But what about the not fun bit, right? Like what about it's a essential software that company or the government is using, and now you can reverse engineer it and find like some loophole or anything, you can steal the data or anything like that. It's like it's dangerous. So if someone have malicious intention, are using all these tools and all this capability to do things that is harming our society, then it's not a good thing. So one of the things that you may have not thought about it before is that you think, oh, hackers, right? Like, oh, our image are like someone who is like with a hoodie in the basement and doing something very secret to see, like. But no, actually, a lot of hackers, they work in teams. Um, but why they work in teams, right? Like, it's not esport. Why they work in teams? So, because actually hacking is not a very easy thing to do, right? You think about it. If you want to set up something malicious, let's say in a Python library, so you may have to be one expert who is like very good at Python, understand how Python packages work, so can find a place that you can hide some code in it. Maybe you have to have another person who is very good at the CI/CD pipeline, so they also find an entry point how to put that malicious code in there. And you may have another expert who is very good at like low-level language, so they can hide something in the wheel instead of like code, because everybody can see the code, right? They may need to hide, put some very difficult to read code there that is very low level somewhere. So yeah, you need people to have different skills, and humans are very hard to become expert in everything. Most of the people will, like, if you're the expert, right, you have to spend time and focus on studying one thing. So it's very hard to find a human who is good at all these things. And also, when you are hacking someone, you want to do it fast. Because if you take time, right, if you treat it like your pet project, which take like maybe 3 years to complete, the software is updated, the vulnerability is patched, you can't, exploit that anymore. So time is very important. And if a hacker try to attack, they need to work really fast before someone notice what they are doing and try to like, block that, vulnerability. So yeah, so you want to work in teams because you can work faster if you have multiple of you. And last thing is that if you are doing some like hacking, and let's say you're stealing some data, you may not want to take a break because someone may notice what you're doing and block it, right? So you need to work non-stop to try to achieve your goal of like maybe steal a lot of data or like do some damage and like enough so you can blackmail the owner of that software or that system, whatever, right? So yeah, so human need to rest, like we need to sleep, right? I don't think like if you keep drinking like Red Bull and stuff would help you to stay awake for like weeks, right? You would die. So yeah, that's why they work in teams, so they can take turn and do their stuff. But now think about that, right? Think about instead of human, we have machine, we have AI. So we need different skills. We need experts in different fields. Well, AI can beat that with just one model, right? Like your favorite AI coding agent can code in Python, C, Rust, JavaScript, everything. I can't do that, right? Like I can do Python, I can do a little bit of Rust, not very good, and that's it, right? I can't do that many languages, and I don't know that many knowledge as well. I have to do research and Google and stuff, like learn how Docker work and whatever. But AI is already trained, so it's kind of like a multi-domain expert already. AI is also very fast. I mean, I think it's very straightforward that AI can read code faster than you, and AI can write code faster than you. Like, I mean, some people are very good at typing. They use like customized keyboard and type really fast, but you are not faster than AI. It's just, boom, that's the code. And also, AI don't need to sleep. If you pay the bill, right, either energy bill or token, whatever, it can just keep doing things nonstop. So, yeah, you can replace the whole team of hackers with just one AI, and it can just keep finding different vulnerabilities nonstop, and it's not good. So that's already quite scary if you think about maybe someone trying to use a coding agent that we are using today to do that. What if we have something that's even smarter? We have an AI that is trained to find vulnerability in software. What if I told you that an AI has been born and can find a lot of vulnerabilities in everything that we are using today? How many of you have heard about this? Claude Missile? Yeah. So this is just announced a few days ago. You're all catching up, so that's good. Anthropic's, one of the leader of the AI models, they have trained a most powerful, they claim is the most capable AI model ever built. So story is some developers within the company, they try to, let's, because now it's in preview, so they are trying it, right? Like, so they try it and say like, hey, find me vulnerability exploits, and they go to sleep and they wake up, they found, oh my god, there's so many bad things I could do if I'm a bad person. So yeah, so zero-day vulnerability just means that it's a new vulnerability that no one has ever found it before. So in all the major operating system and all the like major web browsers, something that is bad has been found. So a few of the most scary ones. There's a 27-year vulnerability in OpenBSD. So OpenBSD is an operation system. It's open source. It's kind of like Linux. That kind of, again, like I'm not a kernel developer, so I'm not very familiar with it. But 27 years old. It has been there for ages. So many people have eye. It's open source. So many people have their eye on the code, and they didn't find it. AI, Claude Missiles, found it in, one night maybe, according to the story. Crazy. Another very, very popular software that probably you are using it and you don't realize it because you probably like some of your application in your computer are using it is FM Pack. So it's a video processing kind of software, and it's 16-year-old vulnerability. Again, like 16-year-old. So many people have looked at the code and nobody found it. Oh my god. So that's really bad. Another scary thing is that Claude methods have shown that it can roll 181 successful Firefox exploits, right? According to the report, these are not just like, they're marketing it. It's like a human expert in that field have checked it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's not hallucination, that's real. So that's very, very scary. So what next? Are we able to use it and do some like, I can make some money by being a hacker now? No. Luckily, Anthropic said that they are not releasing it as of now. We don't know about the future. I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know. But right now, even if you are willing to like, spend a lot of money, you still can't use it. They're not releasing it now. What they said is that the model's cyber capability is too dangerous for general availability. So right now they're not planning it to be available for you and me unless you're part of that project, which is Project Glasswing. So what is Project Glasswing? So once Anthropic realized that they have now built a very, very powerful and probably dangerous AI model. So they have built this initiative. They have worked with a lot of big companies and organizations to so that like these are the partners that they trust. So someone within that those organizations, they can access to this powerful model. Hopefully, they're using it to find vulnerability in their own software, so they can fix it before the hackers they can do it. So they can do anything. So these are the ones. So you see a lot of big companies that you and I already heard of and know. I think CrowdStrike is they have a lot of software that are run on some hardware thing, IoT. I forgot, but yeah, it's actually also they have a lot of software that has been used, but you may not have heard of the name. And the only non-profit is the Linux Foundation, I believe. So yeah, so it's a very small group of companies and organizations. Um, so so that's good, right? Like we don't have these potentially dangerous tool available to people maybe like in the hoodie in the basement like hacking, right? But it's still quite, you know, it's a bit disappointing that only the company and organizations belongs to Project Glasswing have access to it. As you know, a lot of open source are developed by people who are not affiliated with those, right? Like, what about the Python Software Foundation? What about C Python, right? Like, we all do Python. We all, concerned about that. Maybe not yet, hopefully, but right now, we don't have access to it, and we want to make Python more secure. So it's a bit disappointing. Yeah, and not just Python, other open source. What about Rust? What about other things, right? Like, so I have found that as someone who has been in the open source space for quite a while, and I pay attention to what happened to the open source community and ecosystem, is very, very hard to be on the defense. Because think about it, right? If you are the hacking team, you just need to find one point of weakness in this software system, and you attack it, you can successfully, let's say, access a lot of sensitive information. But people who are cybersecurity expert and want to protect that system, they have to make sure everything is doing the right thing. You have to protect everything so it doesn't have a single point of weakness. It's imbalanced, like how difficult it is to be on the defense compared to on the offense, right? And nowadays, like, we can't live without technology. Everything is a technology, it's a software that can potentially be dangerous. Like, just imagine how many software are on your phone, and if one of the app in your phone is actually malicious, it can get a lot of your personal data, your life. Now my life is on my phone, right? So imagine that, like, danger that we are all having. So we have lots of technology, but if you think about the resources we spend on cybersecurity compared to the resources we spend on having all this technology, it's quite a small fraction. And especially in open source as well. In open source, everybody publish something, put a lot of things out there that people can use for free. Now even big companies are using a lot of like open source project, right? Pandas, like NumPy, all these, like, a lot of big companies are using them. But they don't put a lot of money in the security, right? Like, Python Software Foundation, we keep asking company, hey, can you, give us money so we can improve the security of what we are offering you. But it's always, we can always do more if we have more money. So yeah, it's very hard to do cybersecurity as an open source, because instead of we just, make a pull request on GitHub and, everybody can see your code, can review your code, it doesn't work that way in cybersecurity. If you found a vulnerability in someone's source code, you don't shout to the world, because there may be someone, again, like in a hoodie in the basement, may use that information to go against you and the library, right? So usually there's a standard procedure. You contact the security, for example, like CPython, we have a security team. So if you found a vulnerability in CPython, you can contact with an email, specific email, to contact the security team. So this information is not, public yet. So only the security team will get that information. They would, look at it and patch it. And once it's like, they found the patch and have patched it, then they announce it and tell people to update their Python version or something like that. So that's how cybersecurity works. And it's different from just contributing to open source code. You have the imagine the security team in C Python, right? They have to have the expertise. They have to gain enough trust from people who are already in the team, because not everybody can are welcome. What if you are a spy, right? You're trying to see what C Python have vulnerability, and you are telling hackers to attack us. So it's very, very difficult. It's not as open source. So that's why we always need more resources for cybersecurity. So recently, you may have heard about this. I don't know if any of you are using Trivy. I remember one evening I was just having dinner, and then my partner was like, "Oh, Trivy has a vulnerability." I was like, "What?" So yeah, so Trivy is a very popular open source security scanner. So people who care about security is using Trivy, but Trivy is compromised. So yeah, there's irony, right? And then after that, a whole bunch of things happen. Like NPM ecosystem is totally like crazy, because 135 malicious artifact was published. So like it affects 64 plus packages. So if you're using any of those packages, you're probably already affected. And I wasn't still like at that point, I wasn't paying attention yet, because I don't use Trivy. I'm not very good at that. So I don't do CI/CD. That's why I don't use Trivy. So I don't use Trivy. I don't care about NPM. But then it affects Python. So PyPI, the Python registry. So one of the library got affected, got compromised, and 2 malicious versions was published, bypassing their legit CI/CD process on GitHub. So LightRM is used by a lot of MCP servers. So if you use the MCP server that have that as a dependencies, it will just once you start using it, then it will just without you noticing download that, and then once it got downloaded, the exploit is already there. So whenever you start running the Python, whenever you trigger the Python interpreter itself, then the malicious code will be running and will try to get your token and steal your credentials, which is very scary. Well, it's solved now. Just don't use like those 2 versions has been taken down, so you're okay now. But lesson to learn, right? And other, there's not just 1, but 2. Actually, there's another Python library that also got compromised. Similar way of attacking, but this time, the security expert in PyPI are smarter now, so they already stopped that within 4 hours. So that's good. But still, within those 4 hours, if you unfortunately download one of those compromised version, then you are also affected. So if you want to know more about this, that's the where I see all the information. Also, if you worried about if you're using one of these and you worry about that, read the blog post by Seth and Mike, who are 2 PSF staff who take care of security. They have published a blog post. I think talk to me if you want to know the link of that, and you can read and see how to protect yourself. So so I think this time we have Claude Mythal, and I do think Anthropic is doing the right thing right now. And applause to them. They are not releasing a very powerful model. They've spent a lot of money in training that model, but they're not releasing it of the concern of cybersecurity, which is, if I trust what they fully said, I think they are doing the right thing. However, it kind of changed the game a little bit for open source, right? Because again, like if we have something very powerful, but it's not available for open source developers, but we are still using open source, what's the balancing act, right? Like how we can protect the thing that we are using every day, and make sure the wrong tool, the tool doesn't go into the wrong hand of people who have malicious intent. So that's it for my talk, and thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this story. The last thing, I want you to help me fill in a survey. It's about like how you use AI in your workflow. It's only take 2 minutes, only a few questions, and that's it. Also, feel free to connect with me. I'm there on those things. Thank you.